some numbers and Margaret to come in. We'll entertain for anybody privileged from the floor. Would anyone like to talk about anything other than the fire engine right now?
Wow, everybody's happy.
Hot. No, it's nice.
For 1,000? Yeah. All right, principal. Well, yes, Tom,
What's the status on the sign, Mike?
the sign,
The sign is being constructed right now. It's going to be put in, starting as soon as the contractor can get there, probably within a week or two of Labor Day. So, sometime in September.
And since we're going there, how about the dam?
The
well,
dam,
we
are,
100% approval on our plan.
Yes.
So we are able to now set it out for bid.
Yep.
So we will anxiously await to see who bids on
So I'm confident that we're gonna get somebody
it.
to.
We have no idea.
we have no idea.
That's the big,
Yeah.
Yep, that's the question.
big question.
Yeah.
But we have a fully approved plan. DES has issued the permit to do the work. So we are good to go from DES standpoint.
Okay.
The question I have is, I noticed, the tent caterpillars seem to be quite bad this year. Is that, I know it's particularly down in Campton area, but it's come up here too. Is that cyclical, do you know? Does anybody know? It'll eventually destroy the spread and destroy the trees, the green.
Okay, well, if there's no other conversation or business, why don't we start with Chris and Mark? Would you like to make a presentation on where we're at, why we're at, and what our options are?
So I'll just start with why we're having this meeting. We are required, the selectmen are considering an emergency appropriation of money for a lease purchase agreement. I'm gonna let Chris talk about the reasons behind that. But we did not budget anything at the March town meeting to actually pay for a lease payment on a replacement ladder truck. The selectmen, by New Hampshire statute, are authorized to make an emergency appropriation out of our undesignated fund balance, which is what they're proposing to do. And before they make that appropriation, they have to hold this public hearing. So that's why we're here this afternoon. So Chris, do you want to talk about the situation with the
Do
ladder?
you want to go over the timeline first, or?
Timeline wise? No, go ahead, you can, I think that's, we've been looking, our current ladder truck is not in service. We did a safety inspection in April, and that safety inspection actually consisted of two different parts at the end of April and beginning of May. As part of, this was an annual inspection that we do on the truck, and the truck failed that inspection. We had our mechanic, who's been working on the truck historically, came
How
in.
old is the truck, Mark?
The truck is a 1989, so it is
87.
87, so it is 32 or 31 years.
And how much money a year do we budget and put into repairs?
Well, we have a capital reserve account.
And how much we've been putting?
We've been putting about 20 or 30,000 a year into that capital.
Just to keep it to a subsistence.
That's right. And we've
been spending that 20 or 30?
we have not been spending it. We've been building up the capital reserve.
But we are spending, we have been spending, some
Well,
years we spend it.
Excuse me?
Some years our.
Some years our maintenance on the vehicles we do spend. Yes, we have spent some of it
The
all.
point I'm trying to make is we have spent a lot of time and effort keeping this truck going for
That's
30
right.
years.
And we actually, this truck is in our capital improvements program for replacement. It's been in the plan for the past 6 years. We have been sliding it back because it has been passing the annual safety inspections. We, as I said, when it failed at April-May timeframe, we called our mechanic to come and look at it. He estimated that the cost would be between $25,000 and $30,000 to take it apart to see what the problems exactly were. We talked about whether or not we wanted to spend that amount of money on just finding out what the problem was. He did give us a ballpark estimate of $100,000 or more to fix just the ladder portion of the truck. Thinking about spending between $125,000 and $130,000 to fix the ladder portion and then have other issues that could go wrong with the truck mechanically or something like that did not seem to be a good way to spend money. So we started looking for replacement trucks, and we have come to the point where there is a demo model truck. It's a 2017 model year truck that we have identified. It fits into our existing fire bay, so we don't have to make any building modifications to purchase the truck. It fits. And so that's when we started going down the road of the lease. So the selectmen can enter a lease up to 1 year. So the plan would be to do this emergency appropriation, do the lease for 1 year, September to September, and then at March town meeting, we will present a warrant article to either, one, continue the lease, or two, do a bond issue and spread those payments out. Because the lease that we're looking at is a 12-year lease.
And what is the payment per year on that lease line?
The payment per year is $103,200 per year. That's about $8,600 a month.
How much do we have in the capital reserve that we've been feeding into this fund?
The current balance is $72,000 and change. We cannot, under state statute, however, use that money to pay the lease unless there's a town meeting vote to do so. So even though the selectmen, we did set it up so that the selectmen can use that money to maintain the ladder truck, we can't use it to pay the lease. So that's why the money has to be appropriated out of fund balance.
How much is the truck? Outright.
Outright, it's $951,000.
Marked down from 1.2.
Marked down from 1.2.
957? What's 957?
That was, oh, this is the demo, I'm sorry, it's 957. Yes, 957, 677.
How many hours on the old truck of use?
The
I
hours,
don't imagine it gets a whole lot of use.
There's about 30,000 miles on it.
Are you talking about the demo or the R truck?
the old,
The old truck. I'm wondering how much use it gets in a year.
So there's no hour meter on it. But it's old, it's leaky, it's.
Yeah, one of the things that's happened is the water reserve has started rotting out from the inside because of just having water there for 30 years.
So it corrodes just through condensation and, we do our best. So just to recap what Mark said, 6 years ago, this was a 25-year, this was on a 25-year replacement. So it was due about 6 years ago. We looked at it through the capital, through the CIP committee, we looked at it. It was working fine. So they asked if, it was possible to keep it going. Sure. And that's happened for 5 straight years, and it's been working fine. We knew that we had it placed on the capital reserve for this year,
for 2000.
for 2019. And the direction that we got from a ladder truck committee that met back in June was to do this extensive UL test. Underwriters Laboratories does tests on these ladder trucks. A little more than the annual certification. They call it a non-destructive 8-hour test, where they just run it through the gamut of all functions. And that's what failed. And they found some critical failures in it, so that it's unsafe to operate. It's unsafe for our people to be on it. It's unsafe to even drive it in the parade, which this did in the 4th of July parade this year. It was out of service 1st of May. We haven't had a ladder truck since then, and we're just holding our breath. We need some kind of immediate solution to get a ladder truck here. One for we're required by ISO to have insurance. It's an insurance company that rates your community as far as fire protection. It rates personnel, equipment, and water infrastructure. So being deficient on our equipment lowers our ISO rating, which increases insurance rates.
Excuse me, is that insurance rates for the town or
Commercial and
Residential.
residential. Yeah.
entity?
Chris, do we have any estimate as to, like, on a typical insurance policy, how much it would go up if the ISO rating goes down?
I just read about one community, and I think it varies, Bill, quite a bit, but
Yeah.
one community that I did check into had a 5 to 10% increase depending on the insurance company in the rates, but I think it varies community to community.
So
How many structures in Waterloo Valley require a ladder truck versus a regular truck?
I think that the ISO standard is any building over 4 stories.
How many are those?
We have 7, I believe. So it's not all height either. A lot of it,
That's right.
Yeah, Howard, a part of that is a lot of new homes that have been built as how they are sited. It would be extremely dangerous how the trusses are built in new construction to put someone on a roof without a ladder truck. You mean one of our firefighters or anyone trying to knock down a fire. And also getting in some of the houses on Moose Crossing, Cascade Ridge, you just can't get a truck down close enough to the house.
So it's also reach. It's not just the elevation, but it's also reach.
so another question that comes up a lot is, well, how often do you use it? We took it to 4 chimney fires last fall, which the truck was instrumental in getting the fires extinguished and examining the chimneys. Without the ladder truck, we would have had to have had many more people on scene to deploy ground ladders, which are the ladders that you see, painters on, painting houses and stuff. And we're talking, we have a 45-foot ground ladder that has big posts that come down. It takes about 8 people to deploy it. And it's pretty scary up there. But outside of that, it's not safe for our guys to be up there. The nearest ladder truck is in Plymouth. To get Plymouth up here, it's about 40 minutes for them to get a crew together and to drive up here and to leave their town uncovered. They have to call in personnel to backfill the ship.
Canton doesn't have a ladder truck.
They do not.
Does Woodstock?
Woodstock.
Woodstock has a stick, which is just
Not a town.
it's like a ground ladder, but it's automatic.
I've always believed in this. Personally, I got a lot of experience in progressive maintenance, taking something that is old and keeping it young by doing maintenance that's not necessarily required by breaking or age. I have that 41-year-old car that runs like the day it was built. Seems to me that a vehicle that is run for 30,000 hours in 31 years, so that's 1,000 miles a year. I'm sorry. Would it not be more feasible to go for a year lease while our truck has gone over from front to back, soup to nuts? And in $1 million, you're not going to spend $1 million to bring that truck up to snuff, and it'll last another 30 years if you keep it that way.
John, I think we looked into that as an option, but our truck, even if we brought it back to the specification of it, as brand new as the day it was, it doesn't meet current specifications. There are a lot of changes in technology and safety and requirements in trucks that don't exist in our truck.
And cannot be adapted to the truck.
Right, yes.
Like the cab can't be enclosed and things like that.
What's salvage value?
That's the bad news.
That's bad.
Um,
Yeah.
If it had some value, someone would take that truck and send it to a rehab.
It's about $5,000.
It's basically scrap metal because it's not certified.
Are we talking the same company?
That's just
No.
one, that's just one company.
So I
So,
mean, is the new truck the same, that you're looking at, the same company as the old truck?
the
No.
old trucks company does no
Does no
longer
longer
exist. There's no
exist.
parts for it, there's no.
Yeah, we've done our due diligence on trying to get another few years on this truck.
And we've gotten an extra 6 years out of it. So I guess, questions?
Well, the other thing I would just note for people that are in single-family homes and say, well, you know, why would I need a ladder truck? When the Lashes house blew up, I was very happy that the ladder truck arrived and started pouring water on the top of that house so that, you know, all the debris didn't go over to my house and the house across the street from us. And that's what they did. They came with the ladder truck, they got up in that thing and they started putting water on top of the house.
And I mean, a reason for that, a lot of people say, well, why didn't you save the house? First of all, it was an explosion. But why a ladder truck on a house like that? Because there's a lot of unstable walls and floors that you don't want your people operating around due to risk of collapse and things like that. So a ladder truck you can work from above and be in a safe zone and work your way down instead of getting next to it and working your way up. So that's.
From the research I've done, I've noticed that some of these, some of the articles I've read talk about just two-story buildings, so you can get above with
Right.
fewer people, and then you can have more people down below actually doing the work.
Right, so anything above, anything bigger than a ranch, absolutely. I referred to 4 stories only meaning the ISO.
Right, research requirements, right,
Yeah.
gotcha.
How far back did you go in the years to find a truck that no longer is up to performance levels that's required to this day? You talked about a 2017 truck, which I'm sure is great, but what about 2012? What about any of those? How far back could you go and find a truck that is suitable?
It depends on the manufacturer and what the truck has gone through and how much use.
Because
the truck has
I'm
had.
only saying this because of the lack of use of the truck. It just doesn't get used enough to stay in shape. Like any mechanical thing, if you leave it in the garage, it's just gonna rot.
Well, we got 31 years.
Yeah, you did, we did, I understand that.
And 31 years ago, there was a meeting similar to this. And
Tom,
Question on the finances.
Can we get an answer to that first?
You've
I
looked at
would-
a couple of old trucks, right?
yeah, you could, John, you could probably go back 8 years maybe and find a truck that might meet the NFPA standards.
we had a truck lined up, a used truck that was only driven in parades by a little old lady.
Yeah, it was
All that.
about 10 years old.
Yeah, and we found out that it had been wrecked and the frame was bent and couldn't be certified.
Understand.
So they've been looking for trucks.
Yeah, we have, yeah, and most of the other part of this is warranties going forward on the maintenance of the truck. All of the companies that you can talk to regarding leasing used equipment or buying new or used fire trucks, only some of the trucks are warranted at all, and the longest warranty we've been able to find from those dealerships is a 1-year general warranty. And
Can you get financing on a used truck?
We bond it.
we would, well, that's right, we would not be able to buy that truck because no, we could not get a lease on that truck.
So let's talk about the finance.
All right, I can give you how I look to finance it. This is just an example. If we leased this truck for a year and went to town meeting next year and said, let's purchase this truck and bond it out 30 years, because 30 years is the effective life of the truck. And I think the people enjoying this truck for the next 30 years should be the ones paying for it, not us today. It would result in about 14 cents per thousand on the tax rate.
So what is the price to purchase it a year from September? If you lease it for a year, do we have the-
924.
so at least you have the
We
price. locked
have
in.
that
Right.
number, we know what that number is, so
And
The
we'll make-
103,000 comes out of fund balance.
That
takes
is
us
just
to
the first
September.
lease to get you to the
That's
end of the year, because
And
that lease has probably got 7%.
it's
Right.
it's 4.2%.
This is the only way we
On the
can
lease.
legally acquire the
That's
building,
right.
is to take it and enter into a one-year lease.
So the question is not how much we pay for it and how we, you know, how we bond it in the future. The question is, do we need it?
Yeah.
That's
And
the
is this the
question.
truck for us?
Yeah, I'm opposed to an emergency lease here of this particular fire truck, and let me see if I can explain why. When I look around at the problems that are facing this town at this point in time, it's the real estate values declining and the people aren't buying homes. And if that trend continues, it's well and good to say it's 14 cents in the tax rate. It's gonna be a heck of a lot more than that if the assessed valuations continue to decline. So I would say, keep your fingers crossed, continue to look, try to find a better deal, because I don't think we can afford this as a town.
I think that's a valid point. Our assessment, until we get some building in here, until we get some additions to our tax rate, it will impact all of us more than 14%. Tim?
I just recently found out that Franconia went through a similar situation in 2016. Have you talked to any of the firefighters over there and found out how that decision went forward?
I wasn't aware they went through that. I talked to Lincoln, and they went through a similar.
Yeah, I spoke to the chief from Franconia a few minutes ago. After that information you gave, they lucked out. They found a truck for $79,000. And they found a truck, but they have other pieces of equipment, so it supplements what they have. There's no warranty with it, and it was, I offered him double it to see if he'd sell us the truck. It wasn't that. He said, you can look for them, but they're hard to look for. They don't exist like that. They don't need a lot of the things, but with the other equipment there, it doesn't affect it. What also happens is you get into another level of buying a truck. But once again, that other level in the $500,000 range to buy a truck only has that 1-year warranty. And where the other one, we're looking at lifetime warranty on certain things, many years, many miles.
Would two smaller ladder trucks satisfy the requirements?
No, you probably need people to run them. You need the personnel. I mean, we can have 6 ladder trucks, but without anybody to operate them.
And it's a matter of, it is a big deal that this truck fits into
I appreciate
our
that.
current
Oh, I appreciate that. I was just,
station, because we don't have to make any building
if you
modifications.
save $400,000, you could put an addition on the building.
Well, no, actually, this truck fitting into our current station equates to a used truck and doing an addition on the building, and you don't have to go through the year-long process of putting the addition on the building.
So I'm just curious, if Plymouth is the closest ladder truck, what's Thornton, Kempton, Holton?
Mutual aid.
And you have to look at the building inventory,
Say that again?
mutual aid, like,
They're kind of
Plymouth would go-
Buying our Plymouth truck and our truck
So
from
the re-
stock.
how they get away, and I'll use that term loosely, without having a tower, is they don't have the building inventory that we have. So between Littleton and Laconia, if you take those 2 towns out, the only 2 towns that have the building inventory that we have, meaning hotels, 7-story hotels, are Plymouth, Lincoln, and us. So that's another important factor that we tend to overlook sometimes, is our building inventory and protecting the infrastructure of the town.
I would argue that Kempton, one of the states has a reach problem.
Yeah.
And I think
Oh,
that-
absolutely.
They do.
So, absolutely.
Yeah, the way things are being built today, everybody has a reach problem.
Yeah.
Jeff Dropkin, he's our fire captain. He's been here for almost 20 years. And he's a paramedic, and he is a instructor at the fire academy, a retired instructor at the fire academy. So just to give you his credentials.
So, so many towns have a reach problem, especially where you're pushing your lot line where you're so close. So if you think about, and I actually have many pictures of the truck being put together on this presentation,
They have reach problems, but they don't have the height, so they get away with it. That's what Chris is saying, they kind of get away with it. But the first thing they do on their run card is rely on other towns, just like we are right now.
So they rely, they'll rely on us if they need us, but we don't have the highway infrastructure that they have. They have a heavy rescue with all of their expensive extrication equipment that we would use if we needed it. So
That's what we should.
it's driven by infrastructure.
Right. And the other thing is,
Pull that
a
truck
normal
out.
fire,
Last year,
like,
we did not pull that truck out.
That's
in a structure fire, just so you know, we need about 25 personnel here. That's where we get mutual aid from. This is the payback, is that we help each town helps each other.
This gentleman in the back.
Hi, so is there any value in taking out a lease, looking for other options while you're doing the lease, and then with the option to buy the new truck? That's one part of my question. My other part is, I'm a new homeowner, so we bought the last 2 months. So the Bill's comment, I know there's a huge concern about the property values here. We bought a condo for over 20 years, but now we bought a single family home and we're new residents. So my comment is, if you don't have the right fire equipment, you don't have the truck, and your insurance goes up, it decreases the property values more so than if you didn't get one, it would be worse than if you did.
Yeah.
So, because that's a concern to me. One of the things that makes Waterville special is you have fire, you have police, you have all these services that are readily available. So that would be, my comment.
Thank you. Right.
Well, wait a minute, I wanted to hear
Yeah,
the
the first
answer
part,
about
you
the
said was
lease.
a comment, I'm sorry, I thought you.
No, the first one was a question.
So the first part of your question, I would say that absolutely. We're not here today asking to buy this ladder truck. We're looking for a solution between now and town meeting. And we feel that this solution would dovetail best into a permanent solution.
Thank you.
Just a couple of comments. I mean, I'm in favor of this, obviously. For a guy that owns stuff that's 40 years old, the new equipment, the new cars all have better braking systems, better ignition systems, and all those things. Even if you have a 1984 car that's primo, it's not built like it is today. I dare say the new fire trucks are built very well. The other thing is, your biggest cost here is personnel. And I dare say the new truck, that you can get by with less personnel to actually operate it versus these old trucks that require 5 or 6 guys on every trim of the truck. They're all hydraulic, easy to operate, and they're quicker, much more quicker to operate. And payroll is your biggest problem, not the actual equipment. Equipment's cheap compared to payroll. Equipment never sues you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to say that I'm retired from a similar fire department, similar manpower. 16 years ago, we had a very similar situation with our ladder truck.
And where was that?
Manchester by the Sea, Massachusetts. And we leased, same deal. We leased for a year from E1, and then we purchased the truck.
One you leased?
What's that?
The one you leased?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they still have it. About 15 years old now.
Okay, thank you. Bill, you had your hand up?
No.
Okay. Anybody? Bill? Another Bill.
The other one, would the owner accept the lease payment as contribution toward the purchase price?
We get partial credit because it's only about $35,000 of the 103 goes towards the purchase price at the end of the first year. So there is some contribution. They won't take the whole thing.
You mentioned it could be a 12-year lease.
It could be a
Would that be-
12-year
would that
lease
be a
at the
lease?
103.
Would that be a lease purchase?
That would be a lease purchase, and there's no buyout
So they-
cost at the end of that, we don't. And the thing about the lease purchase, and we have to talk about the pros and cons of doing it, whether it's a bond issue or whether it's continuing with the lease at the end of the first year, is every year there's a buyout or there's a opt-out clause that's in the lease. So each town meeting would be raising the money for that next year. So, and then if any town meeting down the road decided that they didn't want to do it, or if there was another situation, if we found another vehicle and we wanted to do that, the cost of doing that we have to weigh is that the interest rate on the lease is probably going to be more than what we can bond it for. But the bond is
And
permanent.
they can also vary the interest rate.
And they can vary the interest rate after 5 years. So it's an
Do we have bond
adjustment.
capacity?
I'm sorry?
Do we have plenty of bond
Yes, it's,
capacity?
this amount, this bonding amount, that we're talking about potentially for 19 is already in the CIP. It's been calculated. So yes, we get it.
Yeah, I have a question. Of the 30,000 miles, how many miles were used in Waterville?
That's a hard question to answer.
My
I
real
would say-
question,
I would
is it being
say-
outsourced more than
Right,
it's being used?
no. I would say probably 75% of that is all in town operations.
Thank you, Howard.
Just want to back up a little. This truck's 31 years old, and we've basically been told that anything after 25 was sort of gravy. But we're talking about a 30-year lease, 30-year bond on the new truck. So the life expectation of the new truck is sort of guaranteed to be 30 plus.
There are no guarantees, but that's.
Well, no, what I'm saying in
We're basing it on-
We're saying that a fire truck life is 25 years, but we're going to bond it for 30.
No, we didn't commit to that.
We
That was
haven't
just an
committed to
example,
anything.
but we got 30 out of the last one, so I figured we would go 30 with this one as a first pass through on this project.
And I assume we looked at other possibilities, such as leasing a used truck that somebody else might own for a year
I
to
don't
get us
think-
through the
I
end
don't
of the
think we can get one and we have no guarantee that it's gonna work. It shows up here, it's our problem. If it goes out of commission after 90 days or something,
Right.
or whatever the warranty is, we might have another decommissioned truck.
We did look
Right,
at that.
yeah.
We looked at leasing a truck, having basically a loaner,
until
Here.
March.
until the March town meeting. That truck came with no warranties, and as part of the agreement to rent that, we would be responsible to return that truck
In
to
the
the
same
company in the same condition. So anything that happened to that truck, we would have to pay to maintain it. And that was a 2000, right, that was a 2006, so it was, or, no, it was a 97.
Katie?
My point was just that I know that if we, how much the ladder truck is used in town, we have to think about how much the mutual aid comes to help us a lot too. So even though the ladder truck goes out, we still have our help.
Chris, I have a question on buildings that are over 4 stories tall. My understanding is almost all of those were sprinkled. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, that doesn't factor into the ISO. It's more less so.
So we don't count on the sprinklers stopping a fire, or?
They'll help your insurance, but you can't count on that because of just failures. So it's built-in redundancy.
Could we, as a town in March, decide to buy the truck that we have in our possession and save the balance of the lease monies? Let's say it's $1,000, just for the sake of discussion, it's $1,000 a month. So you get approximately $6,000 that you could not pay for the lease and put in for the truck.
Well, we bond it, and we could look at our fund balance and look at our.
Can you break the lease
situation.
in March?
Yeah, we can, with a opt-out clause every year. And then we'll.
No, I'm talking 6 months.
It's 6, well,
I don't know.
We don't know if we
did
can
not,
get it
we
back.
did not ask. We don't know what credit they would give us, but
I
we
think
certainly can
I
ask
think
that
you
question.
should ask,
Yeah,
if
we can ask.
we decide to buy that truck ASAP, we could save a heck of a lot of money.
Right, and if we decide we're gonna go with that, we still have the option to look for a used truck. Or something that might fit our needs if something comes across our path. That's right.
But you still have to pay the lease until September.
I understand that. But at least we're covered. We have a fire truck. Because I would think anything we're gonna find is probably is a
So I'm
used
saying the
truck.
truck, if we're satisfied with the truck we're getting in September, if this goes fine with everybody else, buy it in March.
If
Yes,
that's the way we wanna go, but
yeah.
that's gonna be a town meeting question.
And we will ask what the impact
Exactly.
would be.
Bill, did you have something or you said?
If these buildings that are over 4 stories, sprinkled or not, don't have a ladder truck to service their needs in case of fire, then they had a great deal more risk than they would be if there weren't fire.
I think all of our properties have a risk because of the way they're designed and what Jeff's talked about, even a 2-story property. So the 4-story rule, I think, is something we can cast aside for now. I think it's our modern building is to put it in the situation.
So would these commercial enterprises be willing to contribute more to the purchase of a fire truck than anybody else?
Well, at some point we can ask them.
Some towns do that.
Yeah.
However, I think way back, the planning board actually, when they approved like the Golden Eagle and the Black Bear, I think it was around the same time. They, one of the requirements was that from the fire chief was that we need a ladder truck to protect these buildings. So here we are.
Oh, if there's nothing else right now, okay, Tim.
I just had a question on the rental. You said there was a truck in 1997 that was up for rent. How much was that rental? Just so you can calculate the risk versus reward of that piece.
Yeah, well, it was they didn't give us a price. It was part of a separate option we were looking at about if we were to purchase a brand new truck.
From
after
them,
town
they
meeting.
would finance this.
So it was an option that we had between now and town meeting to cover the town. But it was rolled into the price of a brand new truck.
Kind of like a copy machine. They'll lend you one and say, you can get money to buy one, but you have to buy one from them.
And we could certainly, I'm sure that truck would be available to rent. We could certainly look at it, but I think, I mean, the rentals that we looked at are over $8,000 a month.
And
Sure.
The lease was what, 8,000?
8,600. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to make a quick comment. I understand, I'm not particularly hooked on to the idea of it's 4 stories or whatever. I think we have to look more at the fact that we're somewhat isolated here. And modern firefighting today, I think, almost requires a ladder truck, maybe does require a ladder truck in our situation. It's not just a matter of get up there, it's a matter of how the firefighting technique, as I understand it, and personnel involved. And we're looking 40 minutes away at the best. And that's if the truck isn't engaged or down for a reason. So that seems to me that thinking about it in terms of height, reach, I'm not sure what the correct terminology is, limiting really the true nature of the issue that we're faced here.
All of this little stuff over mileage, I say, better we not use it at all. It means everything was better. But I look at this, I say, over a period of years, the town's gonna spend $900,000, one way or another, either through increased insurance, replacement of a used truck, etc. It comes down to about $1,000 a unit over an extended period of time, maybe $2 a week to get it done. And the reality is you're gonna spend the money. It's just an issue of timing and the best way to approach it. But you are going to have to spend the money.
It'd be a little bit more like $1.25 million with the interest, but just,
Well,
truth in advertising.
I'd like to do something right now, if everyone doesn't mind. Is there anyone here who has a deep-seated entering into the lease for this demo truck? There you go.
Well, you just asked.
Yeah, no, I'm asking, I'm just
I
trying to.
don't think the town can afford it, so I would continue it like the guys up in wherever Franconia. I'd look for a cheaper option. I continue to bang my head.
I agree
against the wall about having a
100%
cheaper option.
in getting the new truck, 2017, but I'd really like to see a buyout in March. If the town says we're buying the new truck, let's get out of the lease and buy it that day.
Well, let's see if we can.
We'll work with the lease company. to see
Okay, Alan?
what costs are there besides the purchase price that you're not telling us?
Something, a little bit to get our name on it.
Yeah.
And then what's how long?
It has all
warranty?
The warranties on the truck I have right here. It's a 5-year aerial device, paint and corrosion warranty, a 10-year body paint corrosion warranty, 10-year stainless steel plumbing warranty, a 10-year 100,000-mile structural warranty, a 20-year aerial device structural warranty, and a lifetime frame warranty.
Water tank, buy that.
That's the same.
What kind of a truck is it?
It's an E1.
Tom?
Does this price include all the equipment that will be needed?
It has some, even has some extras according to the guys.
So there's no anticipation of
But
another.
yes, it's not like, oh, we got it now, we need $30,000
Yeah,
for
but like
tires.
the ambulance.
I think that's what Alan.
Yeah, it comes with
Yeah,
getting at.
everything would be out of our operating budget, which I don't see anything major.
lettering on it.
But the things you can strip off your old truck that you
Right,
can reuse.
we're gonna be
Yeah.
used.
I know we asked the question earlier, but do we have an average number per year that we're putting in maintenance? Do we have an average?
On
What
this
do we
truck,
say?
I don't.
Into
No, you mean
It's
just
20.
currently, like from the past to
Yeah,
to
in the
now?
past 10 years.
It's about, I don't know, I wanna say $8,000 to $10,000 a year on average.
There are certain certifications that have to be done every year and certain.
Yeah, outside of the test, the actual test is $1,500 a year, but that's a constant no matter what. But that's not included in the $8,000 to $10,000 a year we've been spending, on average. Some years it's nothing, some years it's 22, 23, 28.
Average, you'd say.
Chris, is the truck you're looking at, is it a Quint?
Yes.
So you're getting two trucks for one?
Yeah.
In a way.
Well,
It
yeah,
has a
and
2000.
we need the quint. A quint means that the ladder truck has a pump on it. And the pump capacity is also an ISO mandate. It's a 2,000 gallon a minute pump. The current one is 1,500, so we're gonna get some points.
So if another one of your engine companies breaks down,
The ladder truck.
the ladder truck can fill in for it.
Yeah.
Can you take these trucks out for these annual tests, which I know you guys have done? Has it been gone over by our maintenance staff before it leaves the building for the tests, or is he
It's
surprised?
usually after, John. So typically what happens is the test is scheduled, it's usually October of every year. Last year it was in April because we had that enhanced test. So they'll give us a punch list. Oh, you're dripping oil here. There's a frayed wire here, and that's when we do all the work. So,
Wouldn't preventive maintenance be a good idea to put into the schedule before?
oh, we certainly do
Yes,
preventive
it gets
maintenance.
preventive
Yeah, we do the
maintenance.
preventive maintenance.
That's all
So anything
done
we
before
find
the
during the
inspection.
test, so, yeah.
Bill, if I could just ask a question, do you think it's just money we should not spend, or do you think we should be spending it on something else?
Search for a lower cost alternative.
Okay.
I don't think at $1 million plus, the town, this is something the town can afford at this point in time. That's my objection.
Okay,
I mean,
All right, well,
thank you.
anything else, Rich?
No.
Margaret?
Now, I don't know whether you mentioned if we were to get a brand new truck as opposed to buying a demonstrator, how long would it take for them to build that and give it to us?
It would be about a year.
So we still would have to lease a truck
Correct.
somewhere,
Yeah.
or not, or do nothing.
Or do that rental with the used truck.
So I asked about the salvage value, so if we go along with this lease,
Mhm.
so what happens to the truck tomorrow, the existing truck? Does it go out the door?
We have
Someplace?
to look at options.
Or do we keep it till March and?
You know, buy it.
No.
Yeah, I was thinking of you guys right now. But we'd certainly explore options we get every time we could.
Fire truck.
We'll put out requests for bids and see if anyone wants to buy.
Because otherwise you gotta store it here.
That's right.
I have no,
Yeah.
get stored way in the back. No, we're gonna get rid of it.
We'll
And
get
strip
rid
off
of
what we can
requests-
use and what we can save.
requests for bid.
How old are the other fire trucks? Just keep us updated here.
Engine two is
So,
1999.
Yeah, engine two is a 1999, so that's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Our ambulance is 5 years old, 6 years old. Our engine one is 5 years old. So we're in pretty good shape for a while.
Did anyone price the brand new truck?
Yes. The brand new truck is 951,000.
Not much different.
321.
But the
But the
demo has
year-
got more
The
equipment on
demo
it.
has more equipment on it, and the demo is available, again, 30 days, it'll be here in the station.
And you have to take this with a grain of salt, because the salesman said it, but there's a industry-wide price increase again coming September 4th.
What else is new?
Before town meeting.
When do the 2019s come in?
Yeah. They're gonna introduce him at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If there are no other comments, I'm gonna thank you all for coming and, yes, Jeff.
Yeah, I just have one offer, I'm not sure if anybody's interested, but the truck committee put together a presentation about, why we have this need. And I'm certainly willing to stay after the meeting.
Great.
Can you go over that with you, just to educate on what we're doing? No, it's a pretty, there's a lot of pictures to it.
Yeah, a lot of just pictures without.
I mean, it won't take more than 15 minutes to run through it.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna get 2:47, I'm gonna close the public hearing.
Student council balance. Or should I wait for you or come back tomorrow? Or?
Can you come back tomorrow? Because I've got this to do now. But there are two, upstairs in your box, there are two, residency.
Okay, I will check those.
Now, one of them is for the new teacher at the school who has, sorry, Rich, you can get that.
You don't need to. This is heavier than I thought.
A little
No,
bit
it's
to it.
meant not to slip.
Exactly, thank you.
I don't want to fight for 45 minutes.
One of them's a new teacher at the school, and she's got 3 kids, and she left yesterday, she's waiting to, she's a teacher, she's got 3 kids, she didn't sign the application, she was waiting, so I can.
Get her to sign and I'll sign my part.
Well, if you sign your part, just take a look at it, and then we'll get her to sign it, make sure it's all signed, her lease is there, everything's in order. She's not going to, she's teaching at the school, she's got 3 kids, I think 3, 5, and 8, she's going through a divorce. So she was really, really nice, very sweet lady, she's in her mid-30s,
So we'll let her know the town.
Yeah. And,
Yes.